I'd like to call to order this regular council meeting of the town of Saugeen Shores. Again, I extend a welcome to everyone in the chambers. And the first order of business is a declaration of pecuniary interest, and I'll remind every member of your responsibility to do so. And Deputy Mayor Charbonneau.
I have pecuniary interest with item 5.1. One of the properties in question is owned by my father-in-law.
Thank you. It's been noted. None other than the next item is additions, deletions, or amendments to the agenda, and we have nothing under that. So the next item then is adoption of minutes, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Minaj, that Council adopt the minutes of the Council meeting of October the 24th, 2016 as presented. Is there any errors or omissions? All in favor then? That's carried. Next item is Committee of the Whole minutes of October the 24th, 2016, and it's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Dave Mayette. The Council note and file the Committee of the Whole meeting minutes of October the 24th, 2016 as presented. Are there any errors or omissions? Not, all in favor? That's carried. Next item on the agenda is 5.1 is the Planning and Development Report. And it's been moved by Councillor Minaj, seconded by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber. The Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the Planning and Development Report dated October the 24th, 2016, recommending the following. Whereas capitalized terms not defined herein have the meanings ascribed to them in the FIT Rules version 5.0, and whereas Sun Power Solutions Corporation, the applicant, proposes to construct and operate a rooftop solar photovoltaic farm facility for renewable energy generation on PIN property identification number 33248-0892, 736 Wellington Street, Port Elgin, and PIN number 33248-0891, 714 Elgin Street, Port Elgin, in Saugeen Shores under the province's FIT program. And whereas the applicant has requested the town of Saugeen Shores indicate by resolution council's support for the construction and operation of the project on the property. And whereas pursuant to the FIT Rules version 5.0, applications whose projects receive formal support of local municipalities will be awarded priority points, which may result in applicants being offered a FIT contract prior to other persons applying for a FIT contracts. Now therefore be it resolved that the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores supports the construction and operation of the projects on the lands. And 2, whereas the capitalized terms defined herein have the meanings ascribed to them in FIT Rules version 5.0, and whereas Mackenzie Street Mini Storage Incorporated, the applicant, proposes to construct and operate a 200 kilowatt rooftop mounted solar panel system on PIN number 33248-045-1246 Mackenzie Road, the lands in Saugeen Shores under the province's FIT program. And whereas the applicant has requested that the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores indicates by resolution council's support for the construction and operation of the project on the property. And whereas pursuant to the FIT Rules version 5.0, applications whose projects receive the formal support of local municipalities will be awarded priority points, which may result in the applicant being awarded a FIT contract prior to other persons applying for FIT contracts. Now therefore be it resolved that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores supports the construction and operation of the projects on the lands. Are there any questions to this motion? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda then is a Committee of the Whole report. They're long tonight. And it's been moved by Councillor Dave Mayette and seconded by Councillor Grace that Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores adopts the Committee of the Whole report dated October the 24th, 2016, recommending the following. The Council supports the AMO request and passes the following motion. Whereas recent polling conducted on behalf of the Association of Municipalities of Ontario indicates 76% of Ontarians are concerned or somewhat concerned that property taxes will not cover the cost of infrastructure while maintaining municipal services. And 90% agree maintaining safe infrastructure is an important priority for their communities. And whereas infrastructure and transit are identified by Ontarians as the biggest problem facing their municipal government, and whereas a 10-year projection, 2016 to 2025, of municipal expenditures against inflationary property tax and user fee increases shows there to be an unfunded average annual need of $3.6 billion to fix the local infrastructure and provide for municipal operating needs. And whereas the $3.6 billion average annual need would equate to annual increases of 4.6, including inflation, to province-wide property tax revenue for the 10 years, and whereas this gap calculation also presumes all existing and multi-year planned federal and provincial transfers to municipal governments are fulfilled, and whereas if future federal and provincial transfers are unfulfilled beyond 2015, it would require annual province-wide property tax revenue increases of up to 8.35% for 10 years. And whereas Ontarians already pay the highest property taxes in the country, and whereas each municipal government in Ontario faces unique issues, the fiscal health and needs is a challenge which unites all municipal governments, regardless of size. Now therefore be it resolved that the town of Saugeen Shores supports the Association of Municipalities of Ontario in its work to close the fiscal gap so that all municipalities can benefit from predictable and sustainable revenue to finance the pressing infrastructure and municipal service needs faced by all municipal governments. And 2, that the town of Saugeen Shores formally request to make the following delegations at the upcoming Roma Conference on January 29th to 31st, 2017 as follows. 1, a delegation to the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry regarding Phragmites and the continuing needs to register herbicides that can be used over water to control Phragmites. 2, a delegation to the Minister of Environment and Climate Change regarding Unifor's wind turbine and its ongoing operation. 3, a delegation to the Minister of Natural Resources and Forestry regarding the high cost of pesticides to control emerald ash borer. And 4, a delegation to the Ministry of Energy regarding expanding West Ontario's service area to include all of Saugeen Shores. Questions or comments? I wrote a book. Any questions or comments? Councillor Dave Mayap.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you for that very lengthy reading. Well done. Certainly, the AMO conference is a very useful forum for these type of issues to be brought up, and it's been my pleasure to attend the AMO conference or the Roma conference for the past 2 years, and I plan on attending again in January this year. And I believe a couple other councillors, including my next door neighbor here, are planning on attending also. And making delegations is also a very useful forum for us to be able to get some face time with the principal decision makers, those being the ministers of the different departments. With regards to the 2 that I brought forward on October 24th, in particular the second one regarding West Ontario Power Service Area, I believe this is the way that it's been put in, but for clarification purposes, it's my intention to circulate a discussion paper amongst our council prior to us going down there in January so that our position becomes clear, and that position paper would be based on some upcoming conversations I'm having with the chair of the West Ontario board, so that we don't get ourselves ahead of West Ontario's intentions, even though we've heard from West Ontario that it's they seem frustrated with their inability to grow the corporation and thus give us greater returns on our investment as the largest single stakeholder in that company. What I meant to say, or what I would prefer that said, even though it doesn't, is that it should be up to and including all of Saugeen Shores, because it may very well be that it's not in the best interest of West Ontario Power to take on all of Saugeen Shores, but certainly they have expressed their desire to expand their coverage area beyond the municipal boundaries that were established in 1999 at the time of our amalgamation. Thank you. So just based on that, look forward to having some more discussions with everybody on that, and I will be circulating some information as soon as I get that compiled. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further questions or comments? Then all in favor of the motion? Opposed, if any. That's carried. The next item on the agenda is report of municipal officers or committees, and the first one is a Police Services Board Committee report, and I believe the Deputy Mayor would like to speak to it.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On January 15th, 2016, the Saugeen Shores Police Chief, Dan Rivet, formally advised Council and the Police Services Board of a long-standing series of deficiencies within the Saugeen Shores Police Building. He informed us that in spite of continuing efforts to adapt police operations and the building itself to mitigate these deficiencies, the point has now been reached at which the police can no longer continue to operate adequately or effectively within the existing police building. In response to this advice, the Board chose to review options for police building expansion or replacement and to commence a process for selecting an option that would fully resolve the existing operational issues and address future needs. The Board's intent was to complete this process in time to make a recommendation for Council's consideration as part of its 2017 capital budget. On May 30th, the Board released a public statement on the status of the Saugeen Shores Police Building, which is attached for your information to this report. This document presents a high-level outline of the deficiencies first identified by the Chief. It also articulates the Board's view that these deficiencies must be addressed in short order to ensure that the community continues to receive adequate and effective policing in the near and long term. In June, the Board appointed 3 members of the public and 1 member of the Police Association to join all members of the Board and the Chief on a Facilities Committee. This committee was given a mandate to review all relevant materials and to consult the public before making a recommendation to the Board on how to address the facilities and infrastructure needs of the police service. Under the direction of the Facilities Committee, public meetings were held at the Plex in Port Elgin on July 20th and at the Southampton Town Hall on August 17th. At these meetings, presentations were given outlining the history of the police building, the risks associated with the building's current state, and the 3 options for facility expansion or replacement that have been explored to date. Public comments were solicited verbally and in written form via comment sheets distributed at the meetings and electronically via email. Public and media tours of the building were also offered and carried out by the Chief. In total, 61 people attended the July meeting and 67 attended the August meeting. Numerous statements were made by members of the public at these meetings. 13 written comments were submitted. All comments were recorded or received by Board Secretary Georgina Elliott and are attached to this report for your information. In fact, they're available for your review in the Council office back there. What follows here are some samples of sentiments expressed by the public, and they're there for your information. You can, of course, read those, or you can take a look at the more detailed information in the package in the Council office. On September 14th, the Facilities Committee met to review the public comments and submissions, along with the options for building expansion or replacement. The committee had a detailed discussion and unanimously agreed to the following recommendation for the Board's consideration. Quote, that we recommend to the Board a new building, preferably with EMS, and adequately meeting the service's needs for the next 30 years, end quote. On October 19th, this recommendation was presented to the Police Board for consideration. The Board and Chief agreed that the option recommended by the committee, which was option 3 from the public presentation, would fully resolve the existing operational issues and address the service's future needs. Board members agreed that a joint venture with EMS would be beneficial to both services. That said, members also recognized that such a partnership is not essential to satisfying the operational needs of the police service. After careful consideration, the Board chose to recommend that Council proceed to construct a new, standalone police detachment, option 2 from the public presentation. Should Council choose to pursue a partnership with Bruce County EMS, the Board would be supportive of that approach, so long as discussions with Bruce County do not create undue delay in addressing the police service's critical needs. The following resolution was passed by the Board on October 19, 2016. Quote, the Saugeen Shores Police Services Board, after significant consultation with the public and based on a recommendation by a Facilities Committee of the Police Board, hereby recommends the following. That the town of Saugeen Shores should tender and build a new police station facility based on the design submission of 2016. Option number 2, that will meet the current and future needs of the Saugeen Shores Police Service in order to supply adequate police service to the town. And option 2 is to design and construct a new standalone police services facility on a new site owned by the town in the industrial park at the intersection of Wellington and Mackenzie Streets. A conceptual design and preliminary design construction cost estimate for option 2 were completed by GM Deemert Architect in 2013. These conceptual designs have been reviewed in detail by the board, chief, and members of the police service. All agree that a building built to these designs would meet the needs of the service today and for the future. The construction cost estimate for this option was updated in March 2016. It, along with a site plan, floor plan, and daytime rendering, are attached to this report for your review. This recommended option and detailed cost estimate have been forwarded to the Director of Finance to be included for Council's consideration as part of the 2017 capital budget process. The Board recognizes that this recommendation comes with a significant cost to the community. It also understands Council's need to balance competing priorities for scarce funds. The Board asks Council to understand that it is the statutory obligation of the Board, and I might add of Council, to ensure that the community receives adequate and effective service from the Saugeen Shores Police Service. Having formally received the Chief's advice that the existing police building jeopardizes our ability to achieve this standard, the Board believes it is now essential for us to take steps to address the operational issues that exist due to our inadequate and deficient police facility. This report and related budget recommendations are respectfully submitted on behalf of the Board. I would just add, if I could, Mr. Mayor, switching hats and putting on my hat as Deputy Mayor. We have heard here since my first budget meeting, which was 10 years ago, budget 2007, the Chief came at that time and advised us that this building was inadequate. At that time, the building was 6 years old, which obviously was a great concern to myself and I'm sure to my colleagues on council at the time. And I think it was very difficult to justify at that time building a brand new police building, given that the age of the building. So we have spent the last 10 years attempting to accommodate ourselves to the facility or attempting to accommodate the facility to our needs. And we have made progress enough to sustain us over that period of time. But we have now been advised by the Chief that that time is at an end and that we must take action due to the serious issues with the facility in terms of operations and that standard of adequacy and efficacy that we need to achieve. So in my position, obviously, as Deputy Mayor, which will come as no surprise, I support this recommendation and for the reasons that I've just stated. That's the report. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Charbonneau, any questions or comments to the report? Councillor Minaj.
Okay, so this is a lot of information to digest, and we've been waiting 10 years patiently to undo a previous council's mistake. And here we are being forced to look at this and being directed by a board and a committee and basically being asked for a rubber stamp that I won't give. And I fully support our police force, in fact, to the tune of a greater percentage than would cost if we were to use the OPP, maybe as high as even 20% greater, because I believe in local policing. But what I can tell you is, and my comment is this, and respectfully, that I'm not buying it. I'm not buying organized crime. I mean, I guess I'm not a police officer, I'm not a police chief, and you have to respect the professionals that are doing the job. But when I look at the difference between the existing building and the proposed building, to look after these changes in crime and to look after seized goods and evidence, to name but a few. I mean, there's a long list of things that need to be changed. But when I look at the building today and I look at the building that's proposed to the tune of several $1 million, unless you can tell me that it's okay to add 3 or 4% on top of any 2 or 3 or 4% that we might think is reasonable this year, I can't go there. I can't get there. In fact, without being, I didn't want to diminish the importance of this, but but I watch many home and garden TV episodes where they knock this wall down and they change the look of this and they add this and their budgets and how much money they spend, and they can do wonders with buildings, and they can do much good with expansions. And I'm sorry, I'm on the expansion, change, add to, change, and my vote will not be at budget time for a new building. And I feel like I'm disappointing and letting down the good police force that I support. But I do not believe there's sufficient information here to go ahead with a new build. And that's the position and comment I'd like to make. Thank you.
Councillor Dave Mayette.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and through you. First, I'd like to just state that it's been my pleasure and honor to serve on the Police Services Board for the past 2 years. And through that participation, I've been able to familiarize myself more than I previously had with the operations of the Saugeen Shores Police Service and the challenges they face on a daily basis. And only through that process do I think I could have come to the conclusion that I have today, which is to support the recommendation. In fact, I was on the subcommittee that sat through the consultation process with the public and came up with this. So I am supporting this. The process that we went through, the public consultation, was intended to be very focused on the facility, and at times it became a broader conversation about policing in general. But the committee was very well instructed to remain focused on the task at hand, which was to address the facility deficiencies that we face. With regards to the choices that we were facing, those being expansion of the existing facility, building of a new standalone facility, or build a facility in combination with another service, the EMS service. The conversation that we had, and it's not readily apparent in this, is that the existing building in its state with some improvements to the ventilation and heating system can be fully utilized as a office space going forward, whether it's used as office space for Saugeen Shores or whether it becomes office space available for rent or lease to another entity. Because what we've learned most recently, and particularly through our engagement with the Bruce Power Economic Development Group, is that there are companies that are going to be coming to our area over the next 5, 10, 20, 30 years who are looking at setting up satellite headquarters for their engineering and construction operations, which are going to be based in this area, and to the tune of, I think the estimate is around $30 billion total spend over the next 30 years. So having a facility like this next door here available, where there is scarce office space available, as we can see around town, the companies that are coming into the area are taking up space in everything they can find. They're in storefronts, and they're in back part of different buildings. Having this available and for lease, I think there's a demand for it, and I think it's a revenue source that we can use to perhaps offset some of the costs associated with building a new facility. And that was an integral part of the equation when we made the recommendation that we did, and I think it's important for that to be understood. And so based on that and my experience, I am standing in support of the recommendation. Thank you.
Would anyone else like to speak on the report? Councillor Dave or Mike Myatt.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, I will be supporting, as most of us around the table, I assume, would be supporting at some point, whether it's a renovation expansion or a standalone Saugeen Shores Police Services building or a standalone building with EMS. So, I mean, we obviously, for the facts we've been presented to us, we've got to do something. So, I obviously will be supporting that something, but I just don't know what yet either, because I'm really struggling with. I've just done some quick math. At 20,000 square foot building at $272 a square foot is $5.4 million. $450,000 for drilled wells and piping, $150,000 for a generator, $450,000 for design fees. We quickly get to $6.5 to $7 million. And an expansion renovation to the existing building, I don't know. I haven't seen really the figures. Is it 2 million, 3 million, 4 million? So where I think the report's lacking a little bit is, I was a little disappointed that, and maybe Luke or through Mr. Mayor Luke or someone can answer this question, that why wasn't council at least, considering we're looking at such a huge ticket item here, and singly could be the most significant decision this council will make in a 4-year term, why wasn't there an option C? I take a look at an expansion renovation. You put 3,000 or 4,000 square feet on the front, and you go up another floor. You get up to 15, 16, 17,000 square feet. Why wasn't an option C considered? I at the public meeting, I thought I heard 16,000 square feet in one of the drawings I looked at. I don't know how we got from 16 to 20,000, but it is what it is. That's what they need to operate in. Evidently, it's a 20,000 square foot building. So I wondered why there wasn't an option C in the report. And secondly, if you take a look at the industrial park site, has that been totally exhausted in terms of EMS and looking at a police services building with EMS on Bruce County lands, where the Bruce County Library is? It's a fair good sized chunk of property. You probably have to do some, change the driveways around and use some of that front space off 10th concession. I don't know, but was that looked at? Was if emergency, if ambulance service, part of Bruce County service, is part of this new building, was there meaningful discussion with Bruce County to do with building a police department with ambulance service on Bruce County lands? What's the cost? What is the cost to build a police services building on industrial park land with lost assessment over the next 100 years? Is that the best solution, putting it on a piece of industrial park land? Have we exhausted that discussion with Bruce County? See, and I don't know that as a councillor. I'm reading the report. You come up with option A and B, but have has all the homework been done? So for me to make a decision on I've got it up to 6.5 to 7, and maybe higher than that million. Have we taken a look at all the options? I guess that's where I am at, Mr. Mayor, and I'm not sure we have between that option C and what about partnering with Bruce County? Is there ample space there? And just to say no, there isn't. How do we know that? So those are the comments I have. I'm all in favor of. Obviously, we've got to do something, but I just don't know which one it is right yet, because I don't think I've got enough information to make a $7 or $8 million decision.
I think the intent of the report was really to bring us up to speed on where the board has got to, and then to refer it to, and then we'll have an opportunity to refer it to capital budget, which will be on December the 6th, to come up with a path forward. I really appreciate the concerns and questions raised tonight, because I think it'll give us some time to address them and bring some better answers, I guess, or answers that you're looking for on December the 6th. But I think that was really the intent of tonight, and I appreciate all the comments, because I know it's a big ticket item. Having said that, I know I sat on the Police Services Board and was here when we cut the ribbon for that one, and first of all, I will disagree with anybody to say that was a mistake at that time. It was not a mistake at that time. There was a lot of discussion around council at that time about building that thing. We had just built this new office. We just built a new arena that hadn't been paid for. So there was a whole bunch of things that went into that decision. And council at that time, I firmly believe, made the best decision. Things change over years, and I think we know now that we have a building that's inadequate, and we need to deal with it. And I'm sure we will. And I think we'll have that discussion beginning on December the 6th. Okay. Councillor Minaj.
So as you know, unfortunately, I would not be in attendance tomorrow at the operating budget meeting, but it seems to me that a priority health and safety issue in the capital budget of some kind of development, I'm hearing that the police is warranted and needed. And doesn't it come with an operational cost as well that would be needed to be discussed in the 27 budget? And how do you do that? How do you have that if the intent for the deputy mayor and the chair of the police services board is to make sure that this new build of some kind is included in the 2017 capital budget? Where are the cost estimates for the operating side? And if we're looking at 20 years and 30 and 40 years out, and talk of the community going above 20,000 people, have we really looked at the staffing of this new facility and what those operating costs are going to be reflected? But even if you go with the new build at whatever that cost is, I believe there are going to be increased operating costs and the requirement for more staff. I'd prefer to go with more staff than I would with a brand new building. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or comments to this? If not, then we'll move on to the next item, which is a staff report and for applications to the connecting link. There's a motion with it, and I'll read the motion. If anybody's got any questions, they do want to speak, and I'll let you speak to it then. The motion is moved by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau and seconded by Councillor Rich. The Council supports the application for the Connecting Links program as follows. Project 1, Box Culvert Extension on Railway Street. Project 2, Road Rehabilitation Project on Godridge Street, and further the copy of the applications to be forwarded to Lisa Thompson, MPP for Huron Bruce. Questions or comments? All in favour? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item on the agenda is bylaws, and the first one is a good news story. First of all, I want to just had to get a pronunciation here. It's been moved by Councillor Rich and seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau that bylaw 112-2016, being a bylaw to appoint Amanda Frosch as the Director of Public Works for the Corporation of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. I think the CAO has spoke to this item in a previous meeting. So is there any questions, comments? All in favour? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is appoint a municipal auditor. We need to do this each year, so it's been moved by Councillor Matheson, seconded by Councillor Mike Myatt, that bylaw 113-2016, being a bylaw to appoint BDO Canada LLP as the municipal auditor, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. Questions or comments? Councillor Menage.
If I read it right, I thought it said it was a 5-year. I didn't know that the bylaw said anything, but I think it's a 5-year appointment. Is that correct?
The next item then is release a license of occupation. Sorry, okay, I thought I did. All in favor of that, appoint the municipal auditor. Opposed, if any? That's carried. Excuse me. The next item then is bylaw 114-2016. It's to release a license of occupation. I believe there's a report with it. We'll take any questions. It's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt and seconded by Councillor Don Matheson that bylaw 114-2016, being a bylaw to repeal former Township of Saugeen bylaw 22-88 and authorize the release of a license of occupation on 169 Saugeen Beach Road, Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. Any questions or comments to the motion or bylaw? And all in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. The next item is authorize a bylaw to authorize rezoning on Maida-Wash Street, and it's been moved by Vice Deputy Mayor Huber, seconded by Councillor Menage, that bylaw 115-2016, being a bylaw to amend zoning bylaw number 75-2006, being the comprehensive zoning bylaw for the Town of Saugeen Shores by Michael McMillan and Lou Murray for lands described as lots 19 to 24, north of Metcalfe, south of Gosford, south of Edmund, part Metcalfe and Gosford Street, closed. Town of Saugeen Shores is hereby read a first, second, and third time and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. Any questions or comments to that motion or bylaw? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And the next item, again, is a news story, and it's a motion to authorize a physician services agreement with Dr. Graham Bach. And it's been moved by Councillor Mike Myatt, seconded by Councillor Madison, that bylaw 116-2016, being a bylaw to authorize a physician services agreement with Dr. Graham Bach, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. Questions or comments? Vice Deputy Mayor Huber.
Perhaps just for the benefit of the audience at home, if the CAO could just make a couple comments from the report that we received, just about the ER and all that kind of stuff.
Sure.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is there something specific that you want to address?
Well, it's just Dr. Graham Bach. It doesn't say anything about it. He's going to be an emergency room doctor starting for a period of time. It's a 60-month agreement. I guess I just set it off.
Yeah, pretty well. So Dr. Bach will be starting in the new year. He will be covering the emergency room, but also be filling in for one of the other physicians that will be taking some time off. The town works very closely with Grey Bruce Health Services. One of the interesting things that I did discover, and it is obvious once you realize it, is the town does not hire doctors. They are hired by Grey Bruce Health Services. So we welcome them to our community, and we work very closely with them.
Councillor Mike Myatt.
Mr. Mayor, I just want to throw in a quick comment. I'm a member of the physician recruitment team, and this is fabulous news for the community, and with Dr. Bach coming, and also, as you know, Dr. Julie Gibbs has arrived in town setting up practice, and so I think the progress we've made from a physician recruitment standpoint, and full kudos to Peggy, our physician recruiter, who's done just a fabulous job this past year. So I just want to throw the accolades to her and let the community know that community continues to work hard, and this again is great news for the community.
I agree. Thanks, Mike. Any further comments? All in favor then? Opposed, if any? That's carried. And so the one we've been waiting for. The next item on the agenda is a confirmatory bylaw, and it's been moved by Councillor Grace, seconded by Councillor Dave Myatt. Bylaw 117-2016, being a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the Council of the Town of Saugeen Shores, is hereby read a first, second, and third time, and finally passed and sealed this 14th day of November 2016. All in favor? That's carried. And it's been moved by Councillor Rich, seconded by Deputy Mayor Charbonneau, that this regular council meeting of November the 14th, 2016, hereby adjourn at 9:16 p.m. All in favor?